Hi students, in today's session we shall learn about defects in solids. Now defects are created during the process of crystallization of a solid. There is no solid that is 100% pure. In fact, solid crystals with no imperfections, that means a perfect solid crystal, is possible only at absolute zero temperature. And hence every crystalline solid will always have some form of a defect or the other. So in today's session, we shall understand what are the various types of defects that generally arise in solids. And it is important to note here that these imperfections or defects can be reduced if the crystallization takes place at a slower rate. And whereas if the crystallization occurs at a faster rate, then the defects will also be more. But sometimes these defects are intentionally created for manipulating the desired properties in the crystalline solids. So what are the types of defects? We can see that there are basically three types of defects in solids. That is, we can have the point defect, the line defect, and the plane defect. But our syllabus will permit us to study the point defects in detail. So let us consider the point defects. Now the point defects means where the defect in the crystal lattice arises at a single point, okay, at certain points in the lattice. That is the lattice points where the atoms or the particles of the solid are present. So when there is a defect in that particular lattice point, then it is termed as a point defect. Now, these point defects can again be of various types. You can have stoichiometric point defect, non-stoichiometric point defect, and impurity defects. Now, let us take up each one in detail. So, we begin with the stoichiometric point defects. Now, what do you mean by the stoichiometric point defect? Now, stoichiometry is nothing but the fixed ratio in which the elements are present in a particular compound. So, when you write down the chemical formula, we know that the chemical formula shows us the fixed ratio of the atoms or the cations and anions that are present in the molecule of the compound. So as long as the stoichiometry remains unchanged, in spite of the defect that is arising in the crystalline solid, it will be called as a stoichiometric point defect. Now these stoichiometric point defects are again of various types. So the first type is the vacancy defect. Okay. Now, what do you mean by the vacancy defect? As the name suggests, there is a vacancy or there is going to be an empty space in the crystalline solid. So here what happens is during the crystallization of the solid, a particle is missing from its regular site. And this missing particle then creates a vacancy in the lattice structure. So this vacancy defect can also be developed when the substance is heated. And this gives rise to a decrease in the mass of the crystalline solid. And when there is a decrease in the mass, then obviously the volume remains the same. Therefore, the density is also going to decrease. Now, the next type of stoichiometric point defect is the self-interstitial defect. Now, this self-interstitial defect can again be of two kinds. The word interstitial means the spaces in between or the voids that are arising in between the particles present at the lattice points. So when the defect is present at the interstitial spaces, it is called as a self-interstitial defect. Now, this interstitial defect can be of two ways. First, you can see when the particle of the same particle present in that crystalline solid gets shifted from its original lattice point and occupies a space in between the other particles. Okay. So then at its original site, a vacancy is created, as you can see in this figure. So such a kind of vacancy can arise due to the shifting of the particle from its original site to the interstitial space. This is one type of a self-interstitial defect. The second type is where you can have an extra particle that is present in the interstitial space of the crystal structure. So this extra particle is the same as those that are already present. So for example, if you're considering metal of zinc, then you can have an extra zinc atom present in the interstitial spaces. So this extra particle will increase the total mass of the substance without increasing its volume. And hence the density of the the crystalline solid which is showing the interstitial defect due to the extra particle will also be more. Okay, because the mass is increasing, therefore the density will also be more here. Whereas in the second case, where you saw that the same particle has left its original position and gone to the interstitial space, in this case, the mass remains the same. There is no change in the mass. Okay. Therefore, the density of the substance will remain the same. All right. It's only that there is a vacancy generated due to the particle shifting from its original site to the interstitial site. So in this case, the mass remains the same and hence the density also is not affected. Whereas when the extra particle is present, due to the presence of the extra particle of the same type as the other particles in the crystal lattice, the mass will increase and hence there is an increase in density here. So this type where the same particle is just leaving its original position and occupying the space in between, okay, that can be called as a combination of a vacancy defect and a self-interstitial defect. So here you saw in the vacancy defect, it is totally missing. It is like, for example, in the vacancy defect can be compared to a classroom where a student is totally missing. He's absent. That means his slot is going to remain empty. His or her slots are going to remain empty. So then there is a decrease in the mass and therefore the density also decreases. Whereas in self-interstitial defect, it is like another science student has come in and sat down in from B science, he has come in and sat down into the division A. So an extra particle of the same type, the science student only has come in into the other division. Okay, so same type of particle, but due to the extra student present here, the mass has become more and therefore the density also increases in this case. Whereas here, a child from his original seat, he has just shifted out and gone and occupied some space, or maybe he's sitting somewhere else where he's not supposed to be sitting. Okay, he's occupying some place which is lying empty in between. Maybe he's sitting on the floor. So in that case, the particles, number of students remain the same. The number of particles remain the same. Hence, the mass remains the same. And therefore, the density also remains the same. But here, the vacancy has arisen, okay, due to the shift of the particle. So we can say it's a combination of the vacancy and the interstitial defect when the same particle shifts to the different site. Okay. So these were two stoichiometric point defects. In both the cases, you saw that the ratio in which the elements are present in that particular compound, that will remain the same. Okay. So the electrical neutrality is also maintained in both the cases. Now coming to the third type. The third type is where you can have the cations. And this occurs usually in an ionic solid. Okay. In an ionic solid, you can have the cations as well as the anion missing from their regular position. So it's a vacancy defect, but a vacancy defect which is seen in ionic solids. So in the ionic solid, if a cation goes missing, okay, so let us say this A plus, these are the cations and the B minus are the anions. So when the cation goes missing, an equal number of anions also go missing, so that the electrical neutrality is maintained here. At the same time, a vacancy has been generated. So the loss of cation is accompanied by the loss of the anion. And there will be two vacancies here, one for the cation and one for the anion. So such a paired cation-anion vacancy defect is called as a Schottky defect. So this Schottky defect is generally found in ionic compounds where they have a high degree of ionic character. There should be a high coordination number of the anions. And most importantly, there should be a very small difference between the size of the cation and the anion. That is, if you take the ratio of the size of cation to the size of anion, it should be less than unity. Okay, means almost equal. But it will not be the same because, you know, cations are generally smaller. So it should be very close to unity, although less than unity, but very close to unity. That means hardly any difference should be there in the radii of the cations and the anions. Now, when this kind of a vacancy arises, the missing cations and anions, again, the mass is going to decrease, the volume remains the same, and hence the density of the substance will again decrease in this case. Moreover, since the cations and anions which are missing are equal in number, the electrical neutrality is maintained. Okay, and because of that, the stoichiometry is also maintained. That is the ratio of the combining atoms also remains the same. Now we have the fourth type of stoichiometric defect, that is known as the Frenkel defect. Now this Frenkel defect arises when an ion of the ionic compound is missing. Okay, so it is missing means it can leave its original site and occupy the interstitial site, like how we saw the self-interstitial defect the same way. But here it is, only thing is these two, the Schottky and the Frenkel defect, are applicable only for ionic solids. So when an ion goes missing, so you can see here, this is a perfect crystal made up of the cations, okay, and the anions. Okay, now generally the cations are smaller in size, so the cation may shift from its original site and it occupies the interstitial space, that is occupies the space between the other that is points. Okay, so this space remains vacant. So it's a combination of a vacancy and interstitial defect where the cation goes missing from its original site and occupies the interstitial space. So this is known as a Frenkel defect. Okay. Now again, in this case, you can see that this will occur only in ionic compounds, the Frenkel defect, and this will arise only if there is a large difference in the size of the cation and the anion. The cation should be very small as compared to the anion, so that the cation can leave its original site and occupy the interstitial spaces between the anions. Then the ions of this ionic compound must have low coordination number. Okay, unlike in the Schottky defect where the anions have high coordination number, in Frenkel defect the anions will have low coordination number. Now because the ions are not missing totally, they are only occupying the interstitial spaces, but they are not completely missing from the crystal. Therefore the mass remains the same and hence the density of the solid also remains unchanged. Okay, and electrical neutrality is also maintained because the cations and anions are present, only they are not present at the regular site. So this is the Frenkel defect. So once again, we can just have a comparative study of the Schottky and the Frenkel defect. In Schottky defect, you saw that the ions should have both the compounds, both the defects are seen in compounds which are ionic in nature, having high ionic nature. The coordination number of the anions for the Schottky defect should be very high, whereas for Frenkel defect, the coordination number of the anions is low. Here in Schottky, the cations and anions have equal size. In Frenkel defect, there is a large difference in size of the ions. Okay, the cations are very small and anions are very big. Now here, the cations and anions will be missing in mutual pairs. Okay, so there is a maintenance of the electrical neutrality because the cations and anions are missing in pairs. But because they are completely missing, giving rise to the vacancy, therefore there is a decrease in the density of the solid here due to the Schottky defect. Whereas in case of a Frenkel defect, the ion just goes missing from its original site, but it is still present in the crystal at some other position in the interstitial spaces or in the void spaces. Therefore, the density remains unchanged and the electrical neutrality is also maintained. Okay. Now, let us go on to the second type of defect, that is the non-stoichiometric defects. Now, if stoichiometry means the fixed ratio, non-stoichiometry means the ratio does not remain fixed. Okay, there will be a change in the chemical formula of the compound due to these defects which are present in the crystalline solid. So what are the types of non-stoichiometric defects? Now the first type is which is known as the metal deficiency defect. Okay, this arises due to cation vacancies. Again, these are found in ionic solids. So you can see here the cation is missing. There it's a compound of AB, that is A plus and B minus ions. Here you can see the A plus ions are missing. But instead of having the place totally vacant, it has been occupied by a metal ion having a higher charge. Okay, so this is possible only in those kinds of compounds of metals where the metal can show variable oxidation state. For example, Fe plus 2 and you can have Fe plus 3. So here you can see in this example, this is a ferrous oxide. Okay, so the ferrous ions are missing. The blue colored atoms represent the ferrous ions, Fe plus 2 ions. They are missing at these positions and its place has been taken by the Fe plus 3 ions. Now Fe plus 3 has got a higher oxidation state. So here, for example, if I take this particular site, I can see that there are 3 Fe plus 2 ions missing here. And its position, its place has been occupied by 2 other Fe plus 3 ions or ferric ions. So although there are 3 vacancies generated by the missing ferrous ions, 2 of the vacancies have been occupied by the ferric ions, giving rise to the electrical neutrality, and yet 1 slot remains vacant or empty. So this vacancy that is arising due to the cation, this is called as the metal deficiency defect of the non-stoichiometric type. Now, why is this non-stoichiometric? It is non-stoichiometric because now the ratio of Fe+2 ions to the O-2 ions, to the oxide ions, which was there originally, it was Fe+2 is 1 and oxide ion is 1. So it was in the ratio of 1:1. Now the number of Fe+2 ions has become less. You can see the empty or the vacant sites of Fe+2 here. So that means now the ratio becomes Fe+2 1 minus X, means it's slightly smaller as compared to O-2, which is still 1. So instead of the ratio of iron to oxide ions being 1:1, now it is 1 minus X:1. So there is a change in the stoichiometric ratio, and therefore it is called as a non-stoichiometric metal deficiency defect. Now the second type is metal excess defect. So here you can have 2 types of metal excess defect. The first one is due to the neutral atom. For example, here we have taken a zinc oxide crystal in which you can see excess neutral zinc atoms are present in the interstitial spaces. So because the zinc atom is neutral, the electrical neutrality of the crystalline solid is not disturbed. At the same time, an extra zinc atom has come in. So the stoichiometric ratio of zinc to oxygen, which was initially 1:1, now becomes 1 plus X:1 due to the presence of excess zinc atoms. So the stoichiometric ratio has changed. So it's a non-stoichiometric defect caused due to presence of extra neutral atoms of the same metal. And hence it is known as a metal excess defect. Whereas in the second case, you can see that the zinc oxide, which is present, can undergo decomposition to form Zn+2 ions, and electrons are being released here. So this Zn+2 ion can occupy the interstitial space, and the electrons also occupy the interstitial spaces between the other lattice points. So if you see, the electrical neutrality is maintained since the zinc ion as well as the corresponding electrons that have been released are present within the same solid. So electrical neutrality is maintained. But at the same time, now the ratio of zinc ions has become 1 plus X:1. Okay, same as you saw in this case. Because there are excess of zinc ions present here, so therefore the ZnO ratio is no longer 1:1, but it is 1 plus X:1. And hence this is a metal excess defect of the non-stoichiometric type. Now there is yet another non-stoichiometric defect, the third one, that is known as the F-center defect. Now what is this F-center defect? Now this is arising due to vacancies of anions. Okay, it's an anion vacancy or a F-center that is developed in a crystal. Now this vacancy due to anion missing from that particular site gives rise to color. Okay, it imparts color to the colorless crystal. For example, all of us know that sodium chloride is colorless. But when the sodium chloride is heated in the atmosphere of sodium vapor, then the sodium atoms get deposited on the crystal surface. Now these sodium atoms which are present, due to that the chloride ions will diffuse to the crystal surface and they will combine with these sodium atoms present on the surface. So you can see here the chloride ions diffusing from the crystal lattice and combining with the sodium atoms present on the surface to form NaCl, and in the process an electron is released. Now these electrons that are released, they occupy the interstitial space or the vacant space that is generated due to the diffusion of the chloride ions. That means an anion vacancy had been created. The chloride ions are missing from here, and this space which was originally occupied by the anion chloride is now occupied by the diffused electrons. And this electron center, okay, which is formed due to the vacant anions, that is known as the F center or the color center. These diffused electrons which are occupying these vacant sites generated by the diffused anions, they are responsible for imparting color to the solid. So now the crystal of sodium chloride, which is having excess sodium, the stoichiometric ratio changes. Now the stoichiometric ratio of NaCl, instead of being 1:1, because of the excess sodium which is present, it becomes 1 plus X:1. And this electron center will impart a yellow color to the sodium chloride crystal, which is otherwise white in color. So these were the non-stoichiometric defects, that is the metal excess defect, the metal deficiency defect, and the last one which we saw just now, that is the F center or the anion vacancy defect. Now moving on to the third type of point defect, that is the impurity defects. Now what do you mean by the impurity defect? Now as the words impurity suggests, there is going to be presence of a foreign particle here, or you will have some atoms of a different kind present in the original crystalline solid. For example, the first type of impurity defect here is substitutional impurity defect. So as you can see here, this is crystalline lattice structure of copper. Okay. Now in this, at the lattice points, you can see some atoms of zinc present. So when the zinc atoms occupy or they are replacing the copper atoms, so zinc is an impurity here. But when the zinc occupies the places of copper atoms here, it forms an alloy, that is brass. Okay, so sometimes we do it wantonly or intentionally, because alloys have got better properties. They are more stronger, more durable as compared to the pure metal, and therefore we prefer using alloys. So we can create an alloy, that is we can prepare brass by introducing zinc as an impurity into copper. The second type of the impurity defect, the substitutional impurity defect, is vacancy through alluviant ions. Now, what do you mean by an alluviant ion? This alluviant ion means an ion that has an oxidation state different from that of the host ion. Means the impurity that we are introducing, or which has entered naturally or intentionally, that impurity will have an oxidation state different from that of the host ions, which are already present in the crystalline solid. For example, you can see here, this is a crystalline solid of sodium chloride. So there is Na plus and Cl minus ions. Now the impurity of strontium chloride has been introduced into the sodium chloride. Now when we introduce the strontium chloride into the sodium chloride, strontium ions have got +2 oxidation state. So they will occupy some of the regular sites of the sodium ions, which are the host ions. The chloride ions are common, but the host ion, the positive ion here, is sodium ions. And the strontium, which is the impurity ion, will occupy some of the regular sites of the sodium ions. So for every 2 sodium ions, 1 strontium ion will occupy the vacant space. So now what happens? The electrical neutrality is maintained, because for every 2 sodium ions, 1 strontium ion has occupied the vacant site. That means the electrical neutrality is maintained, but at the same time, 1 slot of the Na plus ion remains empty. So it gives rise to a vacancy here. So this is the second type of impurity defect that can arise due to vacancy that is generated by introduction of an alluviant ion. That means an ion having higher oxidation state than that of the host ion. Now coming to the second type, the second type is the interstitial impurity defect. Now interstitial, again, as you've already understood, means the atoms, the impurity atoms here now will occupy the interstitial spaces, or the in-between empty spaces or the void spaces in the crystal structure. So here you can see this is formation of stainless steel, where carbon atoms have been introduced as an impurity into the metal ion. Now, unlike the substitutional impurity defect, where the zinc was introduced as an impurity, the zinc replaces the copper atoms here. But in this case, the carbon, which is introduced as an impurity, being smaller in size, occupies the interstitial spaces. So ion atoms have not been replaced here. Rather, the impurity carbon has occupied the interstitial spaces, giving rise to an alloy, that is stainless steel. So the properties of the crystalline solid have changed considerably. Okay. So this is the interstitial impurity defect. So I hope you have understood the major types of defects. That is, we have seen the point defect in detail. that is the stoichiometric, the non-stoichiometric, as well as the impurity defects. Under impurity defects, we saw that there are two major types, substitutional impurity and interstitial impurity. The substitutional impurity again of two types, where one, the impurity replaces the other atom, that is zinc replaces copper, or there is a vacancy that is generated due to the substitution of an allyovaliant ion having a higher oxidation state than that of the host ion. And the last type which we saw was the interstitial impurity, where the impurity that we are introducing occupies the interstitial spaces between the crystal structures. So with this, we come to an end of the defects. Now, keep subscribing and keep watching my video, and look out for my further videos which will have some numericals on this particular chapter. So thank you, students.